Good afternoon and best regards, Darek readers, and thank you for the interview. You photographed many subcultures, and what tactics and approach do you recommend to photograph subcultures?
The first thing I would recommend to people is to have a sincere interest in the people they're photographing. Not a patronizing kind of interest, or not an interest which is born purely out of wanting to photograph them, but an interest in the people themselves. And the other thing is you always have to be polite and watch more than shoot, I would say. But also, if you're going to be photographing some aspects of subculture, like skinheads or bikers, you also have to exercise a certain amount of care. So I wouldn't say it was for everybody, but you just have to be careful. If you treat people well, normally they'll treat you well.
Do you think it's as important for a photographer to actually study the subculture from inside to succeed in making, let's say, better and more meaningful photographs?
No, I don't actually think that's true. I think there are two different ways of doing the same thing. For instance, Gavin Watson, I don't know if you know his photographs of skinheads, or Nick Knight's photograph of skinheads. They photograph skinheads from being part of, they were skinheads themselves at the time they were taking the photographs, and their photographs are different to mine. I was never part of any of these subcultures, so it was more like looking through a window on something which is different, and I was quite happy with that position. I wasn't a skinhead, so I couldn't pretend to be, and I wasn't really part of any other subculture either, and that's fine for me. I just think you get a different, you can see a different aspect. I mean, I really like Gavin Watson's photographs of skinheads. I think they're very good, but they're just very different from mine. I'll give you an example. There are questions that you can't ask members of the subculture if you're within that subculture yourself, because you're expected to know the answer. As an outsider, you can ask those questions, and not necessarily verbally. You can ask those same questions with a camera.
In your opinion, does a subculture change a person, his personality or behavior? And did subcultures change your life as a person who watched them from outside?
But the problem is, I'm not qualified to talk about a lot of this stuff. I'm not a psychologist, so I think for me to give opinions about it, it would just be inappropriate. I think it's fairly obvious that being part of a subculture does change people, but in what way, I'm really not qualified to say. How photographing those subcultures changed me, I think I am qualified to say that. I mean, I identified with a lot of the people that I was photographing when I was a young photographer. Certainly, I identified with them. I liked some aspects of what they were doing. I disliked some aspects. Certainly, the political and social views of the skinheads I didn't like. I couldn't see that. I thought it was shocking, actually. And but it also made me realize that I didn't want to be part of it. I didn't really want to be part of that myself. I mean, really, by the time I started photographing them, I was 25 or 26. I was a bit too old anyway, but it made me realize I didn't want to be part of anything like that. And it also gave me a reason for being. Once I started photographing them, it gave me it definitely changed me. It gave me a purpose, really, once I started photographing them and I found other people were interested in it. Yeah, so it did change me.
Maybe you noticed at your exhibitions if people have a pronounced interest in photographs of specific subcultures.
They do, yes, certainly. I've always found that to be the case. Ever since I had my first book published, I think this would have been, oh, must be probably 15, 20 years ago. I don't exactly remember when, but ever since then, I've had people from all over the world contact me, asking to use my photographs or publish them. And yeah, people are very interested in British subcultures. And you find more and more, really. I mean, there's probably more mods and skinheads and punks in the world now than there ever were back when those subcultures originated. You get mods in Southeast Asia, punks in Japan, and skinheads in all over the place. America, South America, Central America. I mean, I've seen mods driving around Los Angeles when it's in the upper 90 degrees Fahrenheit, wearing heavy parkas with Union Jack flags on the back of their parkas. They've most probably never been out of the state, let alone to Europe. And yet they still want to identify with being mods.
You have seen and communicated with many subcultures representatives. Maybe you have ideas about what has provoked these people to become a part of this subculture.
I do, but this also comes down a little bit to psychology again. I think young people, when they're young, they want to feel that they're part of something, don't they? And I think with some young people, if they grow up, they find that they don't get on well at school. They don't maybe get on so well with their parents, and they're the kind of people that go heavily into some antisocial subcultures, because very often they find everyone else doesn't want them, but this small group do want them. And I think that's probably one reason why they choose to go that way, go down that path. I mean, I didn't choose. I got on fairly well at school. I got on well with my parents, so I didn't feel the need to become anything myself. I wanted to be a hippie for a while, but that was more to do with the fact that I like the music and the art. I never was a hippie.
Thank you very much for the interview.